Basically just Gilead, but with CEOs. Not really. So, a bipartisan and decentralized group of experts who wish to remain anonymous due to concerns about being targeted wrote this. Please pause to read this. I'm just going to read a few parts. The threat is an order of magnitude beyond any executive power. Second paragraph, as documented below, Musk is tied to a broader group, including Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, other Silicon Valley tech elites, and the thought leader, Curtis Yarvin. They are called the neo-reactionaries, NRX, whose ambitions, if realized, are an immediate existential threat to the very existence of the American nation state. They have openly stated their aims to destroy the nation state and the constitutional order and replace them with new privately owned corporate state to be run by a CEO dictator. Citizens become subjects owned by the state slaves, because everything rots when it has no owner, human beings included, Yarvin said. Curtis Yarvin thinks we need to get used to and familiar with and okay with the term dictator. There are actually quite a few articles about this, and this is who our current installed monarch would be. These are some of the guys that we are looking at. When all is said and done, they want to end up with, they call it different things, but essentially network state. These are the steps that they're taking to do it. In short, they are carving up the planet among themselves and leaving the rest of us with no choice and no way to stop it. The incoming regime exclusively sees Americans as a labor force who will do what they're told, after enough hardship. Violence and psychological warfare beats us into submission. It's a coup designed to enslave the world, to provide a few mediocre white men with the power to play God with the rest of us. I would love to tell you that that's some sort of exaggeration, but unfortunately I cannot. I spent many, many hours yesterday and last night watching a lot of different interviews and reading a lot of different articles, things written by Yarvin and a lot of these other guys, and that's exactly what they want. The network state is really complicated. It is a patchwork of it starts out online. So you essentially form a community, a government in a way, and everyone has to have kind of the same ideals. You come together with the same principles. Anyone who doesn't have those principles doesn't get to be, you can push them out. Then you start funding it, like crowdfunding, and then you pick land, but you don't all move there. So say you have people all over the world. It's not just Minnesota and Minnesotans. It is like people all over the world pick an area and they say this is our new state, right? Once there's enough money that other governments would start recognizing this state as an actual its own entity, then the people all have to move to that area. There's some flexibility in there, but it's along those lines. Essentially, really wealthy people kind of buying their own world. And Peter Thiel pitched one of these ideas a long time ago about oceanic cities. Didn't really go anywhere because... So now it's like in online, it's like a meta state that eventually becomes a real. This is Curtis Yarvin's Substack, a portal to the next regime. You heard me mention before that they didn't want to have non-productive humans in these worlds. So they could send them they could do many different things. One of those being, Curtis Yarvin joked that we could turn them into biofuel or send them to virtual reality farms. People who are not productive essentially would be people who are not hireable. And while they agree that it's not profitable to have people who are not hireable in your society, they understand that it is a social problem. So they're trying to figure out ways to deal with that. It doesn't apply to children because children have potential, but anyone who's older who cannot hold a job would be considered a non-productive human. This is the quote where he talked about turning them into biodiesel. And this is one of their many new cities they're creating. It explains the network states to some degree. And that they're all funded also, the only currency is crypto. And these are the areas where you're going to see a lot of these nation states, or whatever they're calling network states, are already starting to be created. And if you want to take the path, you can also take the pledge. And this is the pledge. I said in the last video I'm concerned about their new connection to China and Russia, and Dugin and Yarvin are very similar in their philosophy or theory, so I'll explain that in the next book. If you're not concerned about this, I'm not sure where your brain is currently. I love dark dystopian sci-fi, but fi being the optimal part of that.